If your nervous system is not relaxed in the relationship, it's not right for you. If you have any childhood trauma, that is unequivocally untrue. When my partner walks in the door and I just had a big day, but he doesn't ask me about my day, my threat detector says, what does that remind me of? And it looks to my childhood, which was filled with very extreme neglect. My system, the threat detector, says, he's reminding me of your mother, and she was terrible and dangerous.
Yeah, you're basically in jail for a crime you've never committed.
And if you ask me in that moment, what do I think about my partner? You know what I'd probably say? Everything that's actually true about my mother, because I'm the third grader. That's the funniest part. We think that we are choosing relationships. In many ways, they're arranged relationships by your threat detector. We're not picking sexy, we're picking grandma.
Yeah.
Because that's safe.
What is the best advice you've ever received about relationships?
Terry Real says we marry our unfinished business. That's the right kind of partner for me, because that's going to help me resolve what I need to resolve and him resolve what he needs to resolve.
How do we know, though, whether it's trauma bonding or the real deal?
To me, the most important thing that creates a good match is...
I told you off camera that I just listened to a podcast that you did, and it helped me through LA traffic. And I did this. It was about, I think you call it adult self, and then how do you call that other part? I know mature self, immature self.
Well, we have our adult self. So that's the truest us based in 2025, this moment in time. In IFS terms, or internal family systems, it's referred to as self. But you can think of it like adult self, soul self, true self. And then we all have other versions of ourselves that aren't this adult self. And you see that driving in LA traffic when you're like, that person's probably in their 60s, but they look about 13 years old and they're really mad.
Yeah.
So much so that they're giving me the middle finger and screaming in their car.
Yeah. So I did this exercise.
Yeah.
About, like, I was in my adult self. You guided me through this experience, and I was like, and from this adult self that you have, from this mature self that you have, how do you view, I think, your life in general?
Yeah.
I was like, what a beautiful question. I actually fucking love my life.
Yeah.
And then you ask, and from this point of view, from your mature self, how do you view your relationship? And I was like, wow, such a beautiful question.
Yeah. Because it's going to be wildly different when you're in your adult self versus when you're triggered in a part. What your whole perception of reality is different. And
it's wild.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So from, if I understood the teachings inside of your podcast episode correctly, we have this adult self, mature self, and we have an immature self. Do you have a different name for that, so everybody listening, watching can?
Yeah, I think the best way to explain it, or the most simplistic way to explain perhaps the most complex thing in the human system, is that we come into the world as one whole being unless we've had birth trauma or pre- and perinatal trauma. So imagine I am one whole being, like my fist here. And then over the course of life, traumatizing things happen to all of us. And trauma is simply anything that overwhelms my system's capacity to process what is happening. And if I don't have the conditions necessary after that event ends for it to leave my body, it gets stuck in my body. So what occurs in that moment in time is a part or a version of us at that age fragments off of our whole self. And they get stuck in that moment in time. So for example, let's say someone listening had their parents got divorced when they were 6, and it was a very tumultuous divorce. It was really toxic. That child did not get what they needed. They felt scared and all of those things. That 6-year-old is stuck in that moment in time in 1980 or 70 or 2000, whatever age they are. And they get trapped there. Now, let's say I was bullied in middle school. That part fragments off. Let's say someone physically or emotionally abused me. That part gets fragmented off at all those ages. So what happens is our body develops, we keep growing, but those parts get stuck there where they are. Now, not only are there vulnerable parts, I just named all the vulnerable parts, like I was abandoned as a baby. So that vulnerable part was totally exposed and not met. And that is really excruciating. So what we do is when these parts fragment off, they're called vulnerable parts, we then develop these internal protectors. And so all of these parts of ourselves, they kind of travel in pairs. We have a vulnerable part, and then we have the part that protects them. So let's say you were abandoned. I was abandoned, which is true. I developed, so that vulnerable part felt like, oh my gosh, the people that were supposed to love me the most didn't. That is such excruciating pain. So I developed an internal protector that was a striver. And I learned if I strived as much as I possibly could, I could earn love because I didn't get any love at home. So that meant if I was the best in school, the teachers were kind to me. Oh, that protects the vulnerable part from feeling that. And then these parts travel through life with us. So I have my adult self, but adult me might not be running the show in my life. It might be that protector, the striver, who sets a bar in life, and then you get there and you raise the bar, and you set the bar and you raise the bar, and you set the bar and you raise the bar. So that's how parts function. Now, the way that they show up differently, like who's in my body at any given time, is that our nervous system has this brilliant threat detector that lives in our brainstem. It's called neuroception. And it looks out into the world every millisecond of our life to see if we're safe or not. And it has 3 categories it puts things in. Is that safe? Is that dangerous? Or is that life-threatening? And we all have this internal computer system, which is so cool, that it looks to see if we're safe or not. And in that computer system is every lived experience you've ever had. You don't have to remember them. They're all in there. So if we haven't healed some of these things in the past, when my partner walks in the door and I just had a big day, but he doesn't ask me about my day, my threat detector says, what does that remind me of? And it looks to my childhood, which was filled with very extreme neglect. And so all of a sudden, my wonderful, loving partner, who's imperfect and was thinking about other things, my system, the threat detector says, he's reminding me of your mother, and she was terrible and dangerous. So in that millisecond, I'm reminded of being in 3rd grade where I had the project, but there was no one to come home to and say, isn't this great? Or they said, that's stupid. And that 3rd grader shows up in my body. So now I'm not in 2025 because of this threat detector. The fragmented part that's stuck in 2000, or I'm not that young, stuck in 1990, what happens is I go back to being in 1990, and all of a sudden I am a 3rd grader.
Flashback.
And you feel it in your body. So it's not even just a flashback. We're traveling time. So neuroscience shows us. So I am, for all intensive purposes, in 3rd grade. And I am projecting onto my partner. When I asked you, how do you see your partner when you're in regulation? It's really different than when I'm in this 3rd grade part, because when I'm her and I'm feeling this neglect, you know who shows up? The part that protected her. And that part is like kind of like an ice queen. Mine was, or, I've integrated her, but really extreme at times, which would show up as he's not asking me about my day, and I would shut down and become icy. And he would say, what's wrong? And I say, nothing. But inside I was thinking to myself, I'm never opening up to you again. I hate you. I'm never going to let you close. I never needed anyone, and I don't need you, and you'll never get near me again. And this is why I'll be fine by myself forever. And I don't say that to him, but I just say, everything's fine.
Yeah.
But it's not fine.
But yeah. I love that one.
So that's projecting my past onto him. And if you ask me in that moment, what do I think about my partner? You know what I'd probably say? Everything that's actually true about my mother, because I'm the 3rd grader. So I would say, you're selfish. You don't care about anybody but you. You aren't curious about my life. You don't care about what's going on for me. You're not safe. Now, all those things are actually not true about my partner. But when I'm in that place, I will believe that's true because I'm not me in that moment. I'm this little girl, and I'm not in Los Angeles. I'm in this house in New Hampshire where I grew up. That's how parts work. And people are oscillating between parts all the time, every time you're triggered.
Isn't it interesting that usually our romantic partners get to experience the immature self the most?
More than anywhere else.
More than anyone else.
Yes.
It is, everybody would agree to that statement.
Yes, that's true.
The people, if we really just pause and think about it, we love people.
Yes.
We love our partners.
Yep.
If you're in a relationship, most likely you, if not, no problem. But anyways, I love my partner. I love my girlfriend.
Yeah.
At the same time, she sees more than anybody else my immature side.
That's right.
Why is that? And how can we maybe talk about this, or how can we communicate that with our partners, maybe even beforehand? Like something, I love practical things.
Yes.
I love that when people listen and learn about the work and psychology, but also I want everybody not just to listen, but to actually act and improve. So why do you think that is, this phenomenon I just described? And how can we communicate that with our loved ones?
I love that you're saying that. My whole mission is, how do we make this practical? Because information does not change your life.
Exactly.
The embodiment does. So this is relationships are the perfect orchestration to heal the last bit of our wounds that can only be healed in a romantic relationship. There may be nothing harder we ever do than come into a romantic relationship if we both are willing to do the work and heal. But it leads to the most beautiful result. There's a wonderful couples therapist named Terry Real, and he often says that we marry our unfinished business. So here's what that is about. And that's actually brilliant. You know, this messaging out there that often, I hear this all the time, that's actually profoundly untrue. You can find it on Instagram. So if anyone listening has heard people say things like, if your nervous system is not relaxed in the relationship, it's not right for you. If you have any childhood trauma, that is unequivocally untrue. And what's going to happen is you're likely going to also run away from things that are really, really good for you, because they're going to threaten your nervous system and your parts. If your nervous system's not used to receiving love and attention and being seen, the good doesn't feel good at first. So why does this happen? We have this threat detector that I talked about in our brainstem called neuroception. And remember, we have this internal database or computer system. This is your playbook for what love is. So whatever you experienced in childhood, that's what your system says love is. Now, the goal is, in our own individual work outside of a relationship, maybe before you got into your relationship, you did some work and we start to heal. And that means we begin to change the blueprint for what love is. So no longer is it the cycle of neglect or abuse or not being chosen. I start to choose myself. So I start to shift it. And so what happens is, but let's say before I even do the shifting, my threat detector is looking out into the world to pick a partner for me. That's the funniest part. We think that we are choosing relationships. In many ways, they're arranged relationships by your threat detector. Like really, truly. We're not actually doing the picking. Here's what I mean by that. So I go out into the world and I say, I want a date. And I sit down with someone on a date. This was my historical story. And they were sort of attentive, and then they would wander off. They'd look the other way, or they'd look at their phone for a while, sort of disinterested. And you know what would happen? My threat detector would say, oh, they're not fully into you. What does that remind me of? It reminds me of my childhood where I had to earn love. That's what love is. Whatever's in the database, our system thinks love is. So it says, that's love. And all of a sudden, I'm like, ooh, I like this person. This is so nice. They're so sexy all of a sudden. Ooh. And then I double down on, what did the database tell me I had to do to get love as a child? Well, what I had to do was be extra engaged in you. So you're not really engaged in me. I am going to be so engaged in you that you just feel like you are so centered and special, and I'll keep being invisible, because that's what happened in my database. And so then we leave and you don't call me for a few days, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I met the love of my life. I don't know when he's going to call, but hopefully soon, because it fits the blueprint of what love is for me. Now, for me, what this looked like from literally the age of, I'm not kidding, from 13 until I was married for 10 years, until I met, well into actually being married to my husband, because I met him at 22. I picked people who were, at the very least, very selfish, but most of them were narcissists, like, in the true sense of narcissism. They were either emotionally abusive, or they had significant others I didn't know about. They never chose me fully, and they always left. And I had no needs, and I was invisible. It was every single time, it was the same thing. If I picked them in different parts of the world, it was the same thing. Why? Because the threat detector was doing the picking based on what love was in the database. Now, the hope is, and this is why, by the way, people go on dates and they're like, yeah, the guy was really great. You know, he was just asking me so many questions about my life. And then even before the date ended, he said, I'd love to take you out again. And just was really respectable and didn't even try to kiss me. He just said, it's so nice to get to know you, and planned this great date, but he's not for me. Like, we're straight out the gate. We just say that he's not attractive. He's kind of pathetic. Why? Because if in my database, I was not cherished, I wasn't adored, I wasn't seen as this precious jewel that should be respected and to be fought for, then when I receive that, Even though it's the good thing we want, the good doesn't feel good. It's sort of like sunlight. If I was in solitary confinement, it'd be too much for my eyes. Even though I'm so glad to be out, I wouldn't be able to keep them open. So as this goodness comes towards us, we can't tolerate it. And then we think, there must be something wrong with you if you're loving me like that, because if my own caregivers didn't, you must be pathetic. This is why. And the beautiful thing about this is the more we do healing work, we change what's in the database. So what happens is no longer, after I did a bunch of work, no longer did I pick a partner who's a narcissist or untrustworthy or not choosing me, but I picked someone who had just enough of the flavorings of the past that he has the potential to heal the last, let's call it 10% of the wounds I have. You can't heal 100% of the wounds on your own, meaning you have to heal some of these wounds from the past in romantic relationship, because that last bit of wounding, which happened in earliest childhood experience, can't be done alone or with a friend or with a therapist, because nothing mimics your childhood the most than a romantic relationship. And here's why. Because the threat detector, remember, it looks out into the world to see, what does this remind me of? When you get into a relationship, it's saying, okay, this person's your most important person. They're the where you go to for intimacy and love and a sense of home. Well, what intel do we have on that? In the database, that reminds me of my earliest childhood experiences. So that means my partner is going to poke at the unresolved stuff because they're going to remind my nervous system of it the most. And the most brilliant thing about the universe doing this for us is that you do all that healing, you're still going to attract somebody who has that flavoring, like I said. So for me, that might look like attracting a beautiful, loving, amazing partner who is steady and available and cherishing and is a bit of a workaholic. See, they're not fully choosing me first. The work comes way first, way before me. That's their own work to do, yeah? So this is what Terry Real says, we marry our unfinished business. That's the right kind of partner for me, because that's going to help me resolve what I need to resolve and him resolve what he needs to resolve.
Wow.
Or I would pick a partner who wasn't as good at verbal communication, deep feeler, like my partner, incredible deep feeler. I do this for a living, so I verbally process all the time. A lack of verbal processing does not mean somebody like having a 3-hour conversation about therapeutic existence and all of that. That's not everyone's cup of tea. You know what I mean? And also people are better at intimacy in different ways.
Yes.
People are good at intimacy through play, through silliness, it's forms of intimacy, through deep listening and maybe emotion and tears, but not the depth of words maybe. Maybe that's a scary part for them, which is, of course, the way the world works is we're going to attract people, again, who emulate something that's not resolved. So for me, that's a great example of if my system's used to neglect, being totally unseen, what's going to happen is if I have a partner who struggles to verbally communicate, my threat detector is going to say, oh, this is reminding me of neglect. It's nothing like neglect, but it pokes at that unhealed wound enough that I can turn towards the wound and say, what do I need to do to heal it? And not only that, but my partner being willing to go towards his scary stuff of opening more vulnerably, that helps to heal the wound, like balm, and it also helps him to heal. So, and by the way, the things that he's needing from me are things that I also need to heal. So we're helping each other heal, but the root of that is we're poking at each other's old wounds. And what people get stuck in relationships is a cycle of poking at each other's wounds and projecting your unresolved trauma onto your partner. And we make them the punching bag for what they never did, unknowingly, you know?
Is that why I've seen that with a couple of my female friends? They would go on dates and then they would tell me about their dates, and I'm a curious guy.
Yeah.
And I hear about the date and it sounds like the perfect man.
Great, right?
On time, picked me up, everything, and then like, but no, he's boring. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
You just came out of a relationship that was not healthy, and you were asking for this, but yeah, but it's just boring. I'm like,
that's right.
I had once, so many thoughts came up. First of all, I love this whole question, what is love for you? And I try to see patterns in my own relationships as well. And for a long, long time, my answer would have been, love is grandma.
Yeah.
This caring, cooking for me. This like my grandma was like a big warm hug. She always cooked for me. That was her love, and that was I had a pretty tough childhood. My father was abusive. He was an alcoholic. I did get love, but mostly from my sister and my grandma. Like my grandma was the primary source of love. So love was grandma. So I picked a couple of partners that reminded me of grandma, who loved to cook, who loved to like somewhat take care, of those kind of things. And then that has changed. Now love is more, if you ask me what is love, what is the answer that comes up without thinking? Adventure, growth.
Yes.
Sexy.
Yes.
Putting yourself first. I'm going to say that. Because I personally think, or what I learned is that if two people come together that are spending most of their time in an immature state, them having a thriving, fun relationship, I think very unlikely.
Yes.
So when I say put yourself first, I mean, make sure that you're good, that your cup is full, that you work on yourself. I think it's very hard if one person does the work and one person, sleeps enough, eats healthy, and like does the work, makes the right decisions, and then the other person is kind of saying like, I don't need to do the work.
yeah. If anyone says they don't need to do the work, that's maybe not the person for you, because everyone needs to do the work.
Yeah, 100,000%. The people who usually say, that was me, by the way, 2019. I'm like, my partner at the time, Ariana, she's like, you told me about your childhood. Like, I think it would be good for you to have a therapist. I'm like, I've done so much work on myself. I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I needed to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I did. So happy I did. So what is love for you about? If you're listening, watching, what is the answer that comes up? What is love about? And then the other bit, oh gosh, there were so many things, and I hope I don't lose any thoughts. That we pick partners, and I don't think it's just partners, but also emotions that are familiar, even if they're destructive.
That's right.
Like, we rather feel familiar emotions, even if they're destructive, than new emotions. I call that emotional home in my work. I find it fascinating about, like, just thinking about how we choose partners.
Oh, yeah. It's wild. When you said what is love, and it was grandma, when we have yet, and then it changed for you, which is the result of the work you did. When we have yet to do the internal work, then we have these young, sweet, precious parts of us that were, like me too, abused, not chosen. And if we haven't become the parent to those parts, reparented them, love them dearly, what happens is those little parts are looking for the perfect parent in our partner.
I
so
did
then
that.
we're not picking sexy, we're picking grandma.
Yeah.
Because it's safe and it feels, and you're giving me the home I want. And so that doesn't work long-term in a relationship. That creates codependency, and it's actually not love from choice, it's love from survival. When we do the work inside, we become home internally. And when my parts are home with me, that means I'm always safe. I'm not choosing love from a sense of, oh my God, I'm 6 and I'm not going to be okay in the world, so I'll pick you. It's, I can discern now because I'm my internal home. My parts come to me first for help. So what does adult me want? And then it becomes an entirely different experience of who we choose. But until we do that work, we're going to choose people who emulate what love was for us, and we're going to be looking for a parent in them. And no relationship can thrive in that.
Yeah, I had that long-term relationship. That was a beautiful relationship, but at the end of the day, or like at the end of the relationship, I was like, I kind of dated my mom.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Or the mom I wish I would have.
Exactly. That's what we do. And, no one teaches us any of this. So we just, in many ways, our nervous system and our parts take over on cruise control. We think we're guiding our lives, but unless we're actually in control of our nervous system and understand all these facets of it, it's driving us. And so that's why people keep saying, why do I keep choosing that terrible guy over and over again? Why do I keep doing that? Well, you're not in control of your system. It's in control, and it's choosing familiar because it's what it knows. It can pick up on the most subtle cues without you even recognize it. Because a lot of people say the guy seems so nice or the girl seems so nice, the woman, and later, they surprised me. No, your nervous system already knew.
I have this one friend, she always chooses trouble. Like, I see the man, most of my female friends, I always tell them, like, let me meet him. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me meet him. And she keeps choosing trouble. And I'm like, I know this is trouble for you. It's going to be trouble. It's going to be like the same, the old thing. So she would have to do the work.
Yes.
If you're watching this means Christmas is approaching. And my book, maybe this is happening for you, not to you, is the perfect Christmas gift for everybody and their grandmothers. It is really a book that will change the way you look at life forever. You basically gift your loved ones the most important skill that you can develop as a human being, which is meaning making, which is turning adversity into a gift, taking control over your mind and learning how to frame things. This book gives you access to years worth of progress for the price of going to the restaurant once. Please, please, please do yourself a favor, do your loved one a favor, order a copy, 2, 3. This book will save many lives, and you ordering this book will help us achieving that mission. So if you haven't already, make sure to order the book. Maybe this is happening for you, not to you. Out now, ladies and gentlemen. And now let's continue with the show.
And what happens is your baseline for love changes. So the more you do this, the more that I really hate that. It's like a slogan, love yourself. What does that even mean? I don't know what that means. But what I do know is if I can relate to the young parts of me, think of it like foster children. When I'm doing parts work with people, that's how I equate it. So your door opens and there's all these little foster children who happen to look like you at all different ages. And they all have wounds of some kind. And they have nowhere else to go but your home. So you invite them in, and your job through time is to earn their trust, to show them that you're going to predictably show up, to fall in love with them. Your job is to fall in love with them and cherish them and protect them and become this incredible parent. And when that occurs, my baseline for what love is changes. And no longer do I even draw in the people that are like, the historic people that I drew in. I draw in kind, wonderful people. And not only that, but the kind, wonderful people I draw in, I'm actually attracted to. That person that when you were saying some friends will go out on dates with great guys and then after they'll say things like, he's too short though. Or like, everything else is great. What is it? Who cares? Or he was boring. I'm so bored.
Yeah.
And that's because the difference is safe love is like being on a lake in a canoe. It's really calm and peaceful. And if we aren't used to, it's beautiful. You get to see everything and look around, have conversations, eat a snack. It's like really nice. But if we're not used to that, if love for us was being in the water with no life raft and almost drowning consistently, I'm going to drown, and then someone resuscitates you, pulls you out of the water, and then they drop you back in. And then you're almost going to drown and then they pull you out. And that's the imprint of love for me. Someone's there and then not there. They're not choosing me. Then I'm going to think that feeling, which is like almost like a drug, am I going to die or not? Am I going to be okay or not? We equate that with love. It's not love. That's survival. And that's a trauma bond, or some of it's a trauma bond, but certainly unhealthy relationships. So when we get into a boat with someone who's like, hi, I would just love to be in this boat with you and get to know you. You can leave the boat at any time because I'm not trying to control you or anything. And just want to get to know you. I'd love for you to shine brighter in the world. And how can I support that to happen? And it's too calm for our systems at first. And we actually, I say this all the time, you have to build your capacity to take in the good. And even in a healthy relationship, there is always possibility for more growth. That's what I love about this work, like more aliveness. And that means there are corners inside of you and corners inside of me that have not yet fully been exposed in their fullness to your partner. And so our work is, how can I surrender even more to them? How can I open even more to them? Ooh, accountability is hard for me. Taking ownership, what kind of shame thing is there? Ooh, can I look at that and open even more to them? And that's what makes relationships so beautiful when we do that.
Does it ever feel overwhelming to you? And like
doing the work, you mean?
Doing the work, being in a relationship.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
If you're doing a relationship correctly,
yeah,
it should feel like a expedition. An expedition should be fun,
Mm-hmm.
but it should be challenging you. It should be holding up a perfect partner will hold up a mirror for us and say, I love you, my dear, and I'm not putting the mirror down. Meaning, I need you to step into this thing. I need you to look at this thing.
How do we know, though, whether it's trauma bonding or the real deal? How do we know whether it's real love? I told you earlier this grandma relationship.
Yes.
This projection.
Yes.
I feel like it still was real love.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So how do we know if we are in the right relationship?
Yeah. Well, it is real love. That was real love likely to a part of you. Meaning to that little boy, he was like, wow, this is the best ever. I'm with grandma and this is so awesome and I love this. Why should we ever leave? And you are dad, it's adult you. And you're like, I think this woman's amazing. Like, I love her as a human. I'm not in love with her. Maybe that was the case. I don't know. But I'm not, like, but she's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And so see, the difference is the young part is saying, we don't want to leave because this is the closest thing I've had to a parent because you're not being my parent, adult me. So how do we know what real love is? Well, number one, when our partner is no longer our parent. If I am not looking for them to be my primary safety, meaning love should be something that's coming from choice. If they went away, I would be okay. I don't want that to happen. That would be so grief-filled, but it wouldn't feel like I'm going to die. If it feels like I'm going to die, that's a clue that we have younger parts that are saying, I'm 6 years old and I can't be alone in the world. I will die. So really reparenting these younger parts so I feel so at home with me that I'm choosing this person and I hope they never go away. But I'd be okay if they did. And so that is interdependence. That is my adult self choosing the love because not the young parts choosing. And then I think to me, in my own lived experience, I think that the highest form of love is another person stretching for us. And what I mean by that is two people come together. Whatever one person needs that they never got in childhood is going to be the hardest thing for the other person to give because it's where they're inhibited in their whole own growth.
Can you say that again? I want to think about my own relationship.
So think about it, for everyone listening, think about this. If you're in a relationship, and this is the way it works coming together, think about this. The thing that you need the most, that you really need, is likely going to be an area that your beautiful, loving partner isn't perfect at it yet. Might be a thing they struggle with, and it feels scary for them. Now, here's what I want you to also think about. Think about the thing they ask you for, the thing you can't give them yet. And they really keep telling you, like, I really need this from you. That's likely not going to be something that's easy for you to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My answer would be certainty.
Yeah.
Like what my partner wants from me is like certainty.
Yes.
And I'm the most, I don't know if I am the most, I'm very spontaneous. Like, I'm flying out tomorrow. I haven't booked my flight.
Yeah, you haven't booked a flight.
Nah, I haven't booked a flight.
This is amazing. Okay.
And I'm so relaxed about it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that she chose me.
That's right.
Out of everybody, someone who maybe I embrace uncertainty a lot.
Yes.
But then how will it be the other way around?
Well, but do you see in that example you just gave, it's a perfect example. So you are a mirror to something she really wants, which is to let go more. You don't even have to know her. By the way, I'm very much like her, and I have a partner very much like you. So what I want is, that's too scary for me to do on my own. I need someone who loves me to invite me in and to show me it's safe to let go. We can open more. We can let go a little bit more. And I can't do it overnight. It's a stepping in. And his job is to be this loving invitation that doesn't say, you're getting it wrong, go faster. But instead to take my hand and say, oh, my love, I know it's scary. It's okay. I'm right here. We're going to do it together. And you know, those words are the things I wish I had as a little girl. Nobody said that to me. And it's okay. Like, I struggled a lot to be silly, like to be in my silliness, because I had so much abuse in my home. I couldn't be silly. My partner is the silliest person I've ever met in my life, of course, right? So if he looked at me and was like, you're getting silly wrong, you're doing it wrong. Why are you dancing like that? Why are you doing it this way? If he criticized me, it would make me not want to open, right? I'd be like, oh my gosh, this thing I could never do. And you're criticizing me and you're really good at it. But I think true love is saying, hey, let me take your hand and invite you into this, and you can't get it wrong. And it's okay to be scared. And their stretching, like I'm going to stretch for you and for me, is to me the highest form of love. Like nothing higher than that. We do that together. Like you're an unstoppable team. You're healing the past in the present. And then vice versa for you to do that for her, whatever's hard for you. If it's the idea of home or stability.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, because of your childhood. That was true for me. If home wasn't safe as a child, then the idea of being in home as an adult, even if we want that more than anything with our partner, our nervous system is going to say, oh no, I'm afraid it's not going to be safe. And if we have a loving partner that says, oh, we can do this slowly and gently. What does it feel like to root a little bit more? Oh my God, it feels so scary. I don't want to do this. And we gently and slowly through love do it together. We stretch for each other. I don't think there's a higher form of love than that. And by the way, what I mean by stretch is getting it 90% wrong and 10% right at first. Like, it's like if she's asking you to stretch and say, my love, could we book a flight 2 days before? and then it becomes, like, I don't know, maybe it becomes 24 hours. It's not 2 days, but that's a stretch for you. And you stretched for her. And that is love. And to me, to be like, oh my gosh, my partner just did something that's really hard for him. And he did it for me. And he got it 90% wrong and 10% right. I've never had someone stretch for me into what's scary for them. And I think what a beautiful representation of love.
It's funny. For me, the word that came up, what I basically look for is this stability and calmness.
Yeah.
And she's not, she's wild,
Well,
which I love about her.
Yes.
And very alternative, I would say. And I grew up with a lot of discipline.
Yes.
You need to wake up. If you sleep longer than 6 a.m.
Yes. Yes.
And those are the rules. You have to follow the rules.
Yep.
And she's like, fuck the rules.
Oh, yeah. We don't have rules here.
Yeah. Fuck mainstream. I'm doing this. And so, yeah, I'm learning a lot about myself right now. So I'm looking for this stability, right? Calmness. I'm looking for peace.
Yes. So here's this beautiful, you perfectly outlined for me exactly what I was saying. The thesis of what I'm saying is that she is a mirror for you in all the things that you didn't have in childhood, which were spontaneity and play and taking crayons and drawing on the wall and not getting in trouble and being free.
Yeah.
So she's holding up a beautiful mirror of my love. Come into, not 100% of how I am, but you can come into 50% of that inside of yourself, and it's going to feel scary and overwhelming because it's unknown to you. Now, here's the other thing. And that's going to help her and you, because she's going to feel met in that with you, and you're going to feel more whole as a human being. It's really scary. We usually don't take that invitation unless somebody we love comes around who you said is alternative and wild and all the things that you're like, oh my God, this is not the way we do life. She's inviting you. And that's going to help you be more whole, and it's going to meet her. Now, here's the other thing. You're wanting that rootedness and calmness, like you said. And that need that you have invites her into another part of her she is likely yet to fully embody and explore. And so the more that she can lean into parts of that, it helps you get that need met, but it also helps her come into wholeness. So we are like, you're a great match because you're helping invite each other in to these areas that are scary. And a lot of times what people do is they say, well, maybe that means we're not compatible. Difference isn't good. No, we need that. That's what pokes at things to get resolved.
How do we know whether it's a good match or not? Because my therapist, phenomenal guy, he's from the US.
Yeah.
He runs together with his wife Learning Love Institute. Do you know? Are you familiar with it?
What is his name?
Krish.
No.
Don't ask me for his second name.
Okay.
It's very long. Anyways, you should study their work. Yeah, brilliant. Anyways, we had a session together in like 5 minutes. He's like, you guys are a great match. And he never said that, but in my previous relationship, he was like, when it ended, he was like, you guys were never a good match. He didn't say it in this way, but,
Yes.
we have we've done a lot of work together.
Yes.
But I feel like in this relationship, for example, I have this, it's like a magnet. Like the first time I kissed her,
Yeah.
it's like a magnet. It was like fireworks and everything. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Uh-huh.
Wow. And at the same time, there is this part that actually, like, I was asking for peace.
Yes.
Or I thought I was.
Yeah.
But she's wild.
Yes.
And it's like an inner conflict or confusion. Like, I love this wildness, but I want to have peace.
Yes.
So I'm like, I do the work, but I hope people listening, watching this is helpful for them, that I basically share my challenges. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, well, by the way, I think it's so helpful because we learn through a lived experience. So our own experience, sharing that is such a gift to everybody listening, because we can all relate to this. One thing you're describing is polarity. So almost like a yin and yang of you two coming together, which creates that experience of when you kissed her, like, whoa, this feels so alive. What I think about in terms of relationships and in terms of like, what is a good match? To me, the most important thing that creates a good match is two willing people. If you could have a lot in common. You could have seem on paper like, well, we're both in mental health, or we're both entrepreneurs, we both like to travel, we both like fitness, whatever, we like to have fun. But if you both aren't committed to growth, then you're not compatible. You need two people who are. If you have two people who are, you can overcome almost anything. Truly anything is possible if you have two willing people. So that's number one. And
when you say willing people, it means willing to do the work,
willing to do the work. Now, willing, just want to name for everyone that's listening. If you're like, my partner's not willing, willing doesn't mean overjoyed about the work. So usually there's one person who's excited about doing the work and the other person is terrified. Because doing the work means we have to look at the things we put away for decades. And so willing might be them saying like, all right, I mean, like, could we do couples therapy for like a couple months? Like, I don't know. So I know that sounds like they're not willing, but they're willing. They're saying, I'll go. But what's underneath that is I'm really afraid. Mm-hmm. But all you need is two willing people, willing to look at themselves and willing to be devoted to the relationship. Here's the other thing. You need somebody who would be like the equivalent of a triathlete. Meaning they have high threshold and high tolerance. Not going to say suffering, but high tolerance, because that's not the right word. High tolerance for perseverance. Mm-hmm. Because any relationship that you are in is going to hit storms. And what do you do in a storm? And if someone is the type of person that says, I don't like hard things, then that probably isn't going to be a person for you, because it's going to get hard. And what do they do when it gets hard? Do they leave the storm, or do they avoid what's coming up? So I think that that's really primary. And then I don't think necessarily, personally, in working with couples and in my own partnership, this polarity thing of the opposing experiences or ways of being, although that is very, very hard, it is in fact the highest possibility for your greatest growth inside of something like that. So you picking somebody who is so wild and free and like, I don't like rules and I don't like any of these conventional ways of being. Of course you did, because look at what you do for a living. You're like, I'm going for the hardest thing because my soul wants to evolve the most that it can in this lifetime. So I'm not going to pick something that's just like only going to have me evolve 10% of the way. I want to evolve 100. So you picked the most extreme form of that type of person who is inviting you in to a part of yourself and a way of being that you might not enter because it's so scary and hard, unless somebody was loving you enough to invite you in. And the goal is that we don't become like our partner. We're not supposed to become them, but they open up something inside of us that can come alive in a big way. Like, I'm never going to be a person that likes to stay up until 5, 6 in the morning every day going out dancing. Like, it's just not who I am. It's not who I'm going to be. Mm-hmm. But I can certainly be a lot more playful and not take life so serious and be more joyful and and go out dancing until maybe 2 a.m, maybe not 6 a.m. But you get the idea. It doesn't have to be you're exactly a doppelganger of them, but they're inviting you into something that's hard for you. And you're doing the same for her.
Sure. What if you're in a relationship and let's say you have two, you call it willing people? How did you
Two willing people.
Two willing people who are both committed to do the work.
Yeah.
To do therapy if they can afford it.
Yeah.
To work on themselves, to take care of their own health, their happiness, sleep well, eat well, all of it. Because it's, correct me if I'm wrong, very hard to have a thriving relationship if you're suffering in terms of if your energy levels are low.
Yes.
Let's say you eat unhealthy, you don't exercise, you don't use your body. It's very hard to have a lot of energy.
Yes.
And usually two people meeting who both have low energy, not sure how this would create like an alive, loving relationship.
Yeah.
So two willing people. What if those two willing people have the polarity?
Yeah.
And asking for a friend here. And let's say there are values that are not aligned.
Yes.
Meaning like, hey, I want to live in a city.
Yes.
Versus I want to live in a forest.
Yes.
Want to have kids?
Yes.
I don't want to have kids.
Yes.
I'm somewhat lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I am an athlete.
Right. Political views, you could have very
Political
different.
views, yeah. I'm a Republican versus I'm a Democrat.
Right.
Or whatever. What do you do in those?
Yeah. Well, we want to look at why is difference scary for me? And I think too many people are looking for, when we say compatibility, people think you have to have somebody who is exactly aligned with everything that you feel and experience. But in many ways, that's like living in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that because it doesn't leave room for a lot of growth. And so what we want to look at is, what are things, difference that I might have with my partner, but this is difference that I can live with and tolerate. And not only live with and tolerate, but celebrate. Like, I like going to sporting events. I don't like watching sports on TV. My partner loves watching football. He watches it every Sunday. He will wear a jersey while he watches football, like a lot of people do. And I have no interest in doing that. I'm not going to join him in that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that we would spend Sunday mornings together when it's football season, but I could go do other things with my friends. It doesn't really matter that much to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a small example.
Mm-hmm. What if you have a big example?
Yeah.
Like, let's say you as a woman decided like, hey, I have the calling to have kids.
Yes.
But your partner, he doesn't want it.
Yeah. So what we have to really sit with is from a place of what I would invite in both people to do is, if we're both willing, can we get really clear? Is this adult me that doesn't want a child or wants a child, or is it a younger part of me? Because, there's a lot of people that think they don't want children. Not everyone's meant to have children, of course, but there's some people that think they don't want to have children because being in a family was so dangerous or unsafe. Their nervous system is saying, don't ever do that again. So we literally think it's our truth, and it might not be our truth. So I would say, let's make sure, if you really love each other, can we both make sure that we are actually anchored in our adult self's truth and not fear? Because it's such a shame when something ends because of trauma and self-protection. And we think most people are doing that, by the way. And when I say most, I mean most.
Mm-hmm.
Have no idea. We're like, no, this is my truth. I don't want that. But it's often coming from that place. The same goes for someone who's saying, I desperately want kids. Is that because there's a little part of you that wants to be loved? And thinks that's the only way you're going to really be loved? Or is it the woman that you are? So if I anchor in, we both anchor in, and we are sure, no, this is my calling to not have children or to have children, then what we want to really sit with, is that something that I am able, both of us sit with it. Is it something I'm able to take a whole different trajectory of life on? Am I open and willing to do that? And sometimes for people, it's, yeah, I am willing to do it. And we want to sit with, will that cause me to be resentful? Am I making the choice for me, is what I mean, instead of making it for you? That's the only way you can be clear on this. But if you are sure, like, now I'm meant to be a mom, and the other person's saying, and I'm positive I am not meant in this lifetime to be a father, and you try to contort yourself together, it won't work. And so that's this beauty of love, is even something ending can be beautiful. I bow to you. Thank you for this walking this part of the journey with me. Like, what a sacred thing. But what I just described is not what most people do. They don't know that there's a lot of self-protecting going on, and they think it's their true self, and it's actually not. And so on subjects like that, yeah, that's something we need to sit with to that degree. On things like, I feel meant to live in a city and I feel meant to live in the middle of nowhere, what I really invite you to sit with is when you were listening to that episode I did, from my true self. What does this relationship give me? What wounds is it healing up? Are they stretching for me? Like, how am I being loved in ways that they love that aren't necessarily maybe the ways that I love? But like, when I think about that for myself, all the ways my partner's always thinking about me. I show up and there's like pens that I said I liked at some hotel we were at, and they're in our house.
Aww.
I somehow have these pens. Wow, to be loved that way. And so if you can actually focus on the things, because what we tend to do is focus on what they're not doing. If you can focus on that and get clear on how much good is in this relationship, how much right is in this relationship, and am I willing to compromise and live a few years in the middle of Montana with a bunch of cows for this kind of love? And making it from, this decision is on me, meaning no resentment. But I think too much of the time we are too self-focused in relationships, too self-focused, because our little parts are showing up, and it's even unintentionally, it's sort of like, me. How are you making me feel? Me. What do I need? What do I want? And what we want to be is relationally focused. Like, we come together and we are determined and devoted to each other to not let our past hurts or traumas be projected onto each other, meaning I'm not going to make you suffer for what those people did to me, and you're not going to make me suffer for what they did to me.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. I think real love is two people coming together and being relational. And that means I am not going to make you suffer for what those people did to me long ago. And I am not going to make you suffer or hold you responsible for something that these people did that you never did. And instead, I am going to take in the ways that you are loving me that they never could. And I deflect those. I don't take them in. I just focus on how you're triggering me like them. And if we can do that together and say, like, no way, those people are not affecting our relationship. We are the team here. We are relational. And that means that sometimes it's, I need to support you. What do you need? Yeah, we've been living here in LA for a while. I've been here for 20 years. Do you want to go live in San Francisco? My partner's in tech. I don't want to live in San Francisco. But would I do, I work virtually. Would I do that for this beautiful human? Yeah. Because that's what it means to be relational. And we really want to sit with ourselves. Am I saying this is a deal breaker because it actually is, or because I'm not being relational?
All right, why don't you and I take a quick break, and why don't you and I subscribe to the show? This helps us and effectively you to get access to the best knowledge possible. It helps the show massively to get access to the most inspiring guests. The reason why we get access to guests like the one that you listened to today is because of you subscribing to the show. So please just subscribe. It takes about 2.5 seconds, gives you 7 years of good luck, and gives you also access to the best knowledge possible. Thank you so much. Now, let's continue with the show.
What is the best advice you've ever received about relationships, or a lesson you wish you, or it would have helped to learn that lesson a bit earlier about relationships?
You know, I think that with my own partner, he was my first real experience of safe love. And what I want anyone to know, if you've never had real safe love, not the codependent kind, but somebody who just says, I like you just as you are. I don't need you, but I like you and want to help you. If you never had that, and you had a lot of abuse like I did as a kid, when he was coming towards me, my parts, all the little parts that I said I had, that I got to them feeling a lot better. Like it's imagine I reparented them and I'm in this house with them and they're all happy and feeling so good. And they're like, this is so great. We have dogs, we have friends, we help people in the world. Like, awesome. And then I said, okay, so now I'm going to invite a man into the house. And my part said, don't do that. Don't do that, because family is not safe. Everything bad happens when family happens. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. So imagine I invited him in. And he was so excited to come in, but didn't know what he was up for. all of these little parts were having meltdowns. They'd healed 90% of the way, but they had to have a lived experience of a man can be really safe and good. I can't tell him that. And you as my friend wouldn't be enough. They need somebody who would be my partner because emulates home. And so what that looked like was, imagine you're falling in love and you have all these foster children that are like you're having a romantic dinner and somebody's having a meltdown on the ground. Somebody's having a panic attack. So it's like I'm parenting all of them while trying to do this thing. And I equated it to like being in an open ocean storm, like really hard. But the beautiful thing is, in doing that work, if you find somebody who's willing to be in a storm with you, oh my, I don't know if there's a higher form of love, because if you can show those parts, it's safe. Then all of a sudden, you land on this beautiful beach. Tired though, but you land on this beach. And from that place, oh my gosh, anything is possible because you have built this safe foundation. So what I wish I knew, actually, I'm glad I didn't know that fully, what it was going to be like, because it's hard. But what I wish I knew earlier that I hope everyone listening really heard me say is I want you all to get angry about the fact, even if you had loving parents, they didn't get it right. But I want you to actually get angry that what they did, your partner's being punished for. And your partner didn't do it. They didn't do anything but try to love you imperfectly. And if we can get angry about that, it protects the relationship. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
1,000,000%.
Yeah. And that I wish I knew earlier, because I would feel like, oh, I want to protect this beautiful human. Those people fucked up. Those people were actually bad. He's not bad. And I'm not letting that affect my ability to have the love that I deserve, or him.
Do you think that's the reason why some relationships, and maybe even loving relationships, end in such a terrible way?
Yes. Oh, totally. What's happening is they don't even know that they're punishing their partner for something their partner never did.
Yeah, you're basically in jail for a crime you've never committed.
It's what happens. Yes, exactly.
And I mean, I had at least in one relationship, I'm like, I don't understand what it feels like. This is some like fight I was never involved in.
Exactly. Including like past relationships she was in. She might be holding you responsible for some crappy guy who was not faithful or loyal. And now you go out and have a wonderful night with your friends and she's not there. And then she punishes you for it. She's not punishing you. She's punishing that person that was unfaithful to her, but it's coming towards you.
So how can we all do the work?
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully people got inspired today.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want what I learned from you today, and what I honestly, every single person that I interview about love, relationships, it doesn't matter what book I read, they all say the same thing. If you want a loving relationship, a committed, loving relationship, full of love, then you'll have to do the work.
You have to do the work. It's the only way.
It's like you want to get fit, you'll have to exercise.
Yeah, exactly. There's no, I really want everyone to know that. I use the example of exercise all the time. There is no magic bullet. Like if I want to keep staying in shape, I'm going to eat well. I wake up early like I did this morning, even though I was tired, and I went to the gym. Why do I do this? Because I want to continue to have a healthy body. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But the result, oh my gosh, it's so good. The benefits you get.
Yeah.
And this is a lie that our culture, I think from social media, is telling us, that relationships are just supposed to be so easy all the time. That would be like, I stop exercising, I eat fast food every day, and I expect myself to be in shape. It's not possible. And so relationships are supposed to be fun and exciting and sexy, all the things we want, but it's also supposed to be work. And that's the gratifying part. When the work, you see the result of it, you're like, whoa, we just resolved that argument in 3 minutes, not 2 days. We're so good. So yeah, it means doing the work. And I think number one, this means gaining control of your nervous system. So really learning how to regulate your nervous system.
And that's something everybody can do. Doesn't matter how much money you have
100%.
or don't have, you can work on regulating your nervous system through meditation, through breath work, and you also just mentioned exercising.
Oh yeah. movement,
eating healthy,
even things like dancing, shaking, bilateral stimulation, so tapping left and right, swaying, humming, all of these things regulate. So regulate your nervous system on a daily basis many times a day, just from a few moments a day. That's very important. Number 2, you have to do parts work. And what I mean by that is you have to know what adult you feels like in your body. And everyone listening, if this is all new to you, all I want you to do is think about one moment where you have felt like your full, true self. The example I give a lot is using a sequoia tree. So thinking about being a steady, rooted tree where you felt capable, able, peaceful, like you were enough. You knew everything is going to be okay. For some, if you're an entrepreneur, you're in your purpose. It might be when you're serving others. Just flows through you. Everything is okay. I am good. Everyone is good. We are all right. A moment in nature, whatever, a spiritual moment. That is true you. And from this place, that's the lens we want to ask ourselves. What is true about this relationship? What am I getting so much of that I feel grateful for, that I can express to my partner? What do I want us together as a team to grow in? Make it exciting. Like, this is so exciting we get to do this together. And I'm excited to find out what they want from me. What do they need from me so I can help heal the past? You know how honored you are that you get to help heal this person's past? And they get to do that for you? Oh my God, what a sacred honor. So from this place, we feel into what's true. And it might also be a truth like, yeah, I do need them to be more curious about me. I need them to be more tidy. I really do. I really need that. But it's not from a triggered place. It's loving.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we go to connect with our partner and we say, and everyone who's in a relationship, what are you doing to feed that garden? A lot of times we stop feeding it, meaning every day I'm thinking like the pens thing. Oh my gosh, you did that thing last week? I was just thinking about it. He might be like, you already told me that twice. I know, but it was so nice. Like, well, how loving you are. I'm so lucky. We should be doing that with our partners every day. And then from that place, we can also say, and I need this. What can I do to help make that easier for you? So we need to know what adult us is. And then you need to know when you're triggered, feel into how that is different than this version of you. It's wildly different. When you're triggered, when I get triggered, I'm like, I'm never letting you close again. And I don't say any of that. And I just say, everything's fine. What are you having for dinner? But really, I'm shut down. That's not my loving adult self. And you want to get curious, who is that part of me? And how is she projecting those people that hurt her onto him?
That's the work.
That's the work. And my job in that moment is to say, hey, my love, I'll be right back. I'm going to go deal with my parts. And I get anchored in adult me, just like I had you do now.
How do you do that?
Consistent practice like exercise. You know, you go to the gym so often, you don't even have to think about it, like the form for a deadlift, let's say. Same goes, it's creating neural networks for you. So the same goes with being an adult us. What I invite everyone listening to do is marinate every day, 2 minutes, in what it feels like to be adult you. The more you do that, the easier it is to access. So that all I have to do is think about a moment where I'm teaching or a moment when I was diving with dolphins, because I pick maybe like 3, but revisit the same 3 over and over again. Feel into them. Get adult you present. And then when you're triggered, your job is to take a pause, go in the other room, get adult you back, and then get curious. Who is that part that was triggered? Who are you? You could ask yourself, when is the first time I remember feeling that way or snapping at someone or getting angry? What do they actually feel? And it'll clue you into who that part actually is. And your job is to take the hand of that little part of you who was abused, who was ridiculed, whatever happened to them, and say, oh, my love, I know this is reminding you of that, but this is not that. And what do you want to tell me that you could never tell anyone? And it's okay that you're getting reminded of the past. And let me hold you the way no one held you. Let me tell you how safe you are. And that's reparenting. And all of a sudden, when you do that, the part feels better. Very fast. You come out into the other room and you say, hey, sorry about that. I'm back. This is how you heal relationships. And if you have 2 people doing that, it happens so quick. These patterns that feel impossible to change, it feels toxic, all can shift. But you have to do those things.
Sarah, thank you so much for your courage to heal, to share. I'm going to put into the description below, wherever you watch this episode, this podcast I was listening to on my way here, because you've guided everybody through this beautiful visualization practice, and that is something everybody can do after listening to this episode. How can we support you?
Oh, thank you. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Sarah B Coaching, or on my website, sarahbaldwincoaching.com. I've got lots of free resources, or my podcast, You Make Sense.
Sarah, thank you so much. I learned tons, and I'm gonna have a very nice conversation with my partner. Really, you touched me multiple times today. This work is, I believe, the most important work we get to do.
Yes, I agree.
I think we spend so much time talking about health and fitness, which is important. I wish there would be more relationship podcasts. I wish there would be a subject in school everybody has to go through, which is mastering relationship, healing your trauma, and doing the work. So, while others are waiting for the moment, you can start right now. You can do the work, and I highly recommend Sarah's work. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so great.
Thank you, Sarah.